So I'm still working through Malice. I haven't made that much progress, but given that I have like 10 book of the month books to read, I figured I'd get started on them this fall. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I know this isn't my usual intro. Felt like doing something a little bit different. However, like I mentioned, I have 10 book of the month books to get through for the Roll of the Dice reading vlog. I might break this one up into like 2 smaller parts and have it be like a part A and part B. Like part 3-A, part 3-B for this, because it is 10 books together, and I'm also, like I mentioned, still reading Malice. So, but I'm trying to read. Part of it's to accomplish my yearly goal, but also part of it's just to give myself some options while I'm reading. So I know I mentioned I have 10 books. There's only 9 in the stack. One of the books, this one, What the Library Knows by Isabel Ibañez. This is representing the whole duology. I have read this one, but I need to read book 2, and I wanted to read this before reading book 2. So this is representing both books. And basically, if I choose this book, kind of like with previous videos when I read Under the Oak Tree, if I choose book 1, I will read both book 1 and book 2. And then roll again once I finish book 2. So if I choose the book, when I choose the book, I will give the description, but for a lot of talking already. So for what's in this, Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber, Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hochhauser, What the River Knows, and What the Library Hides, or is it Where the Library Hides? Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ivañez. And then The Attic Child, again, I have read this one as well, but I feel like I need a bit of a refresher on it. The Attic Child by Lola, Jaye, Kin by Tayari Jones. I have also read The Lion Woman of Tehran by Marjan Kamali, but again, I feel like I need a refresher. The same with As Long as Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Katu. Read it, but need a bit of a refresher. And then Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. And then Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. Okay, so this is the same die as before. This one I decided to do instead of the square one, just for a little bit more potential variation. I'm going to try to get it in. Okay. Not moving it. 17 and 2. 18, 19. Okay, so 19. Okay, so that actually kind of makes it easy because I know it's 9 and 12. So it'd be 9, but for the purpose of counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18. Wow, this is one I like literally just got in May. So you saw me unbox this at the very beginning of this video. This is one I got in May. So it kind of works out that I'm reading as soon as possible. And I'm also doing like a book buying ban video. So I mean, I wouldn't want to unhaul this, but like this would be the perfect time to read it and find out that this wasn't, or this isn't actually of interest to me. So I'm trying to figure out like a good way to that works. Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. Let me give you the description. That's the physical hardback. I have a lot. There's a lot in that combination, like the yellow, like this kind of yellow and this kind of green. There's a lot in this combination for book of the month. Anyway, let's see. Okay, it starts with class in an old movie theater. Folklore. Oh, that's what that meant. Okay, because I did look at like the very first chapter, and it said Folklore 517, and I was like, what does that mean? It's a class. Which Folklore 517, local legends and urban myths taught by a woman called the Professor. Most students believe the professor's stories are just fiction, but Holland St. James has always been convinced that magic's real. When she tracks down a local legend named the Watchman, who can supposedly tell when you die, the world finally makes sense. Except that the Watchman tells her she will die at midnight. At midnight tomorrow, unless you can find an ancient object called the alchemical heart. I wanted to say alchemical. Called the alchemical heart. Alchemical. I'm having trouble. With the clock ticking, Holland is pulled deeper into the magical world in the heart of Los Angeles, and into the path of a magnetic stranger. Everything about him feels like a bad idea, but he promises Holland that her sister sent him to protect her. And as they chase clues and stories that take him closer to the alchemical alchemical heart, Holland realizes that everything in this intoxicating new world is lying to her, even the stranger. And she can't figure out whom to trust. Not even the alchemical heart will save her. That does not seem like a real word. Alchemy. And then I want to say alchemical. Alchemy. Already. So, I'm not gonna, at this point, I'm just gonna say heart. Because I'm not gonna, like, that word trips me up too much and I speak English. So that's what this is. I personally like to read my books without the dust jacket, so I'm going to leave it off and then put it back on once I am done reading. And I'm going to see how this does, but at least for this video, for the purpose of maybe potentially keeping this on the shorter side, I'm going to try to just update you all when I finish a book. I'm going to see if doing it that way will keep it short enough to have this video be a single video rather than two parts. So, anyway, I will see you all when I have an update for you. Okay, so I have finished Alchemy of Secrets, and to be honest, like, I'm not really underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not like enthralled by it. I think it was a good read. I didn't have any expectations for it, which is why I think I'm not or overwhelmed or like in love with this book. I just like by the end of it, I was just kind of left like feeling like, okay. I read it. It didn't annoy me in any real way, and I think certain parts of it were brushed okay, I think certain parts of it did really well. Like I was really enjoying the folklore 517 parts, like the classes bits where she was telling, where the professor would be telling legends. But like, I don't know. Like I think I'm landing at like a 3.5, 3.75 star. Well, not 3.75, 3.5 stars for this. Because again, it's not necessarily a bad book. It's just it didn't wow me. It didn't enthrall me in any real way. Um, I do think the glitz and glam were nice, but it was just like it felt a little bit of like style over substance. Not that the substance was necessarily lacking. It's like it's a pretty thin book, but like I feel like there needed to be more substance for how much glitz and glam there was. It's like if you had like a really highly decorated vanilla cake, like you have all these decorations, but like either like you have all this like frosting decoration, but like it's all like one note vanilla. Where it's like vanilla's not bad. I'm more of a chocolate girly, but like vanilla's not bad, and I do like a good vanilla. But it's like if it's all like one note, then it's like okay, once and done. I read it. So like I'm landing at a 3.75. I kind of wanted more of the legends and more like exploration into the legends themselves, and like that's kind of weird to say given the premise of the book, but I feel like it was more so what's her name? Holland. It was more so Holland just trying to survive now that she finds out that the legend is really true. It was more so her just trying to survive and make it to the next day and figure out where her sister is, rather than an exploration into like the legends themselves and why the legends are real and not just legends, you know? So I think the only reason why I'm not going to unhaul this one quite yet, this is A, because this isn't really a read it or unhaul it video, and even though I do need to do some more read it or unhaul it videos, but like I've read a majority of my books and I don't really think I need to do too many more read it or unhaul it. Anyway, um, but A, this isn't a read it or unhaul it video, and B, like, I literally just got this, so I'm like, and like, yes, I didn't necessarily quote unquote spend money on this, but like, I had to spend money to get a credit to be able to get this. So, yeah, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're going with against 3.5. I'm not upset that I read it. I'm not thrilled that I read it either. I'm just neutral. So, 3.5 was pretty good, I think. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next book. Okay, so to show off the bookmark that I'm using for this reading log specifically, it's a Song of the Sea one that I got for Christmas. It's so pretty. So that's the one I'll be using. I'll keep it in camera. Okay, so that's in camera. Okay, so 19. We're gonna go count now. Okay, so I have the books out. It was 19, a 1, and an 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, I get to read The Attic Child, which is great, actually. I'll put these away real quick, and then I will be back to start talking about this. It will just be like a second. Okay, so The Attic Child by Lola Jaye. Now, this is something that I need to put my hair up a moment. So, like, this is something that I wish, like, Book of Month would, like, incorporate in their app, because they have, like, the challenges where, like, I'm a rereader, and this is, like, the perfect case of this, where, like, I have read The Attic Child, like, I read, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow as well, and is it Where the Library Hides? What the River Knows. That's the first book I read, that one. And I've read this one, and I'm a rereader, and something I like about Storygraph, I've talked about it in some of my other videos, is that you can mark a book as rereading, and it'll count to that year's goals. It'll count it no matter how many times you read it, which I think can be a little bit of a cheat, but I'm not going to judge anyone else's reading habits. Like, if you need to reread a book, go for it as many times. And it still counts as reading. So, I'm not going to count. Like, for me, though, that would be considered a cheat. Personally, for myself, like I said, if I were to read a book multiple times and count it towards my reading goal in the same year. So, but I will reread a book once every year and count that once every year towards that specific year's reading goal. Like, I'll read on The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings once a year. So I read it in 2024, it counted towards 2024. I read it in 2025, counted towards 2025. Read it in 2026, counted towards 2026. And I have the audiobooks on BOTM, and I'll cycle through the audiobooks for those and some other audiobooks to help me go to sleep. So, because I need something playing when I go to bed. But anyway, to get back to the point of what I was talking about, is I kind of wish Book of the Month would, like, once the new year comes through, like, they would just, like, all the books you have, they would, like, refresh it, be like, did you reread this? And then, like, you can say yes, and that would count to the challenge or challenges. Or no, it wouldn't count to the challenges. It would just count to, like, the main challenge for that year, and then for the other challenges, like Out of the Horse's Mouth, All Ears, Davy Darling, for, like, those ones, like Omnivore, Long Hauler, for those ones, which are a little bit more specific, those would be for the books that you get for that specific year, like 2026 and 2026. Any books you get from Book of the Month in 2026 would count for both the Book Boss Challenge, which is the yearly one, which is, I think, starting off at, like, 15 books in the year. So it would count for that, Book Boss, and, like, Omnivore Reader, Long Hauler, Debut Darling, All Ears, Out of the Horse's Mouth. So it'd count for those, but, like, any rereads where it's like, did you read this? That would only count for the. Excuse me. I tried to pause it. Um, anyway, that would only count for the Book Boss, the main challenge of reading. Because it's like, if you're a rereader like me, I like being able to keep track of, like, what I read specific years. And, like, yes, Book of the Month is not a reader tracker app, but it's like, if you're reading stuff and counting it towards a yearly goal, yes, even if it's a reread, you should still be able to count it towards that specific yearly goal on all platforms, which is why I didn't really like Fable as much. I like Fable, and I like what Fable does. And also, like, what I'll say, like, I'll link my Fable video down below in the description, but, like, I kind of didn't like how Fable, like, you can mark something as rereading, but it wouldn't, and you can mark it as currently reading, but it wouldn't count it towards that specific year's reading challenge. Like, I could have read it in, like, 2014, as an example, and I'm now reading it, like, 12 years later in 2026, and it's like, it's not going to count towards 2026, and it's like, well, yeah, I read the book. And so, anyway, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. We're talking about the Adult Child, since that is my next book. I like this combination. Like, I know I say that there's a lot of, like, this color yellow and the green. I like this combination of this red with, like, this reddish purple, mauvish with this yellow. I got this, like, 2022, September 2022. So it's like the first time I read it was, like, I don't think I got this 2022, actually. I think I got this a little bit later. But I think I've had it for at least 2 years. I think I read it last year, but it's like, still, I'm not the same kind of person I was a year ago when I read this than I am now. So it's like, so to give you the description for the Adult Child, this should go a little bit quick for me, but it's not going to go super quickly, but it's going to go a little bit quickly since I wrote it quick. And this is just, like I said, a refresher. So, early 1900s, taken from his homeland, 12-year-old Celestine spends most of the time locked away in the attic of a large house by the sea. The only time Celestine isn't bound by the confines of the small space is when he's acting as an unpaid servant to English explorer Sir Richard Babbington. Fit name. Um, as the years pass, he desperately clings to the memory of his family in Africa, even as he struggles to remember his mother's face, and sometimes his real name. 1974, so basically 3/4 of a century later. Laura, a young orphan girl born into wealth and privilege, finds herself trapped in the same attic. Searching for a ray of light in the darkness of the attic, Laura finds a message carved on the wall. Written in an unidentifiable language, and under the floorboards, an old-fashioned pen, a porcelain doll, and a beaded necklace, providing comfort for her when all hope is lost. These clues will lead her to uncover the secrets of the attic. So that's what this is about. And I remember really enjoying it and like really enjoying the way the author conveys a lot of these messages, because this is a pretty heavy topic. And I like how, let me just double check what pages this is, because like I like how she had the right amount of length. It's 464 pages, so I think like the length for this is just right, where it's short enough that she's not beating the message or like really like over explaining everything, but it's also long enough that she gets her point across. It's that perfect Goldilocks medium. So when I read this, I will let you know how things go, and I'll give you an update when I'm done. So I have finished The Attic Child by Lola Jaye. I dropped my rating from 5 stars to 4.5 stars, not because I feel like, well, it's because like my opinions have changed slightly, and it's not because this is a bad book. I'm still giving it a pretty good rating. I still really love this book. It's just I think reading it now and having a little bit more time with it now, it's like I have a little bit more in-depth views about this book, and a 5-star rating that didn't, for me at least, didn't fully align with that. But 4.5 stars does. And again, it's still a pretty good rating. It's not like a drastic drop. It's just 4.5 felt a little bit more honest and a little bit more in line with my opinions for this book and my current thoughts for it. So honestly, I absolutely still love this book, and it's still a really amazing read, a really heart-wrenching read, and definitely something that I think more people need to read because of this kind of plot. We need more books about this kind of plot, you know? So I think I mentioned this in my Storygraph review, but there were some parts where it's like it felt like they were a little bit slower in comparison to the other parts. There were some parts that felt a little bit faster in comparison to the book as a whole. And like, not that that's necessarily a bad thing. It just like there were certain places where the pacing was a little bit off compared to like a majority of the book, and there were certain parts where it felt like it wasn't fully lining up 100%. And that for me, I don't want to say too much just because it would be getting spoilery territory. Um, like within the last half to last, one, the last half to the last third of the book. And honestly, I still love the characters. I still love the storyline, the overall plot line, the smaller, more individual plot lines, the characters, the details, all of them exceptionally well done. It's just again, like pacing was just a little bit inconsistent for me. Um, so I highly recommend this as a read. I really enjoyed it. We're now going to go choose our next book. Also, I have decided, just for the sake of this video and keeping it as simple as possible, just because with the rereads at least, it would be a little bit. It wouldn't necessarily be repetitive for you guys since I don't know when I talked about some of these books last on this channel, like in depth. So it wouldn't necessarily be repetitive for you guys, but it would feel a little bit repetitive for me, like rereading and then just rehashing stuff that I've already talked about. So I have removed The Lion Moon moved Tehran and As Long as Lemon Trees Grow. As much as I would love to reread this again, I removed those from this to kind of focus more on the books that I had not read. So I have What the River Knows by Isabel Ibañez here because even though I've read this, I want to read this one before I read Where the Library Hides. So I want to read it. I kind of want to read in succession so that I know what happens when, and I have a more cohesive thought of the overall plot. So kind of like with Under the Oak Tree, if I land on this one, I'm going to read this and then Where the Library Hides and give you guys a comprehensive thought of the whole thing. So I'm going to go roll the dice now. Okay, so we have the 2 dice again. And again, no cuts, no edits. Okay, let me try that one more time just to try to get. Okay, I might need to zoom out a little bit. Scooch you back. Okay, there we go. One more time. Okay, because I want you guys to see that I'm not moving it. Okay, 8 and 11, so 19. I'm gonna go count out 19 now. Okay, we got 19. I did have to do it a couple times just because I like having it on in the camera view so you guys know that I'm not like shifting stuff around to get a number that I would want. So that's why I did it 3 times to try to, and zoomed out to try to get it on camera. So 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, this was one I got recently. Let me put the other books back real quick, and I'll be back to you when I have a description. And also, something else I'm doing is I have all the books for this set aside on my bookmark shelf to one side, and then basically what I do is when I select a book, I organize my books in alphabetical order, the book of month ones. So basically, when I select a book, I put it in the red section, and I put it where it's supposed to go. And then I put the rest of the unread books off to the side again, just so I kind of know, because this is my book of month shelf. And you can kind of see I don't have a whole lot of space here. And it is kind of full, so it's like I kind of need to adjust so that I know which ones are unread and I know where to grab for this reading blog, and I know which ones are read, and then when I read it, I know where it goes. So that's why you saw that space there, because that's where Wild Dark Shore is going. So, best-selling author. She lives in Sydney, Australia. Okay. Guys, if you know how to pronounce her name, please let me know. I I don't know if I like it. I like the colors. I like the colors. It's just usually they match it sort of with the cover, and this doesn't match very well. Like, even if it's not like a perfect match, they'll kind of match it roughly to the colors. Like with this, they might have had this color, like a goldish yellow, be the spine, and then like a grayish brown or a lighter orange to be the actual book. But it's like this bright orange and like a gray, which again, I don't mind. But anyway, that's besides the point. I guess they wanted a little bit different, so you know that this one was the Lolly winner. Anyway, so Wild Dark Shore, to give you the description. I talked about this one recently. Where did I talk about this one? Oh, my mid-year book freakout tag. So this will most likely, this is probably going to be coming out after that. Well, it's currently early, so we'll see when this comes out in comparisons out. But I did talk about this in my mid-year book recap tag. So, I mean, I guess it works out. So I've read it. Um, I'll probably update the description with a new book since I have read it. So, anyway, Dominic Salt and his three children are caretakers for Shearwater, a tiny island not far from Antarctica. Home to the world's largest seed bank, Shearwater was once full of researchers, but with sea levels rising, the salts are now its final inhabitants, until, during the worst storm on the island has ever seen, a woman mysteriously washes ashore. Isolation has taken its toll on the salts, and as they nurse the woman, Rowan, back to strength, it feels like she might just be what they need. Rowan, long accustomed to protecting himself, starts imagining a future where she could belong to someone again. But Rowan isn't telling the whole truth about why she set out for Shearwater, and when she discovers sabotaged radios in a freshly dug grave, she realizes Dominic is keeping his own secrets. As the storm, as the storm, where am I? I keep losing my place. Okay, there we go. As the storms on Shearwater gather force, they must all decide if they can trust one another enough to protect the precious seeds in their care before it's too late, and if they can finally put the tragedies of their past behind them to create something new together. So it's like the seems pretty good. Like this usual genre, I'll have to double check what genre this usually is. One moment. Okay, so the first two genres on the Storygraph for showing as fiction and literary. So it's a lit fic with some thriller. And I don't mind thriller. Like it's not one of my usual genres, but I don't mind it. Um Lit fic is not my usual genre, so we'll see if I like this. It does sound interesting. And also, while I was checking, I was like, oh, I'm getting kind of close to finishing my reading goal. I wasn't like super close. I'm at like 52 books now, and yeah, I'm at 52, and I had set the goal for 75 books. I've pushed it up to 100 for right now, just because we're barely halfway through the year, and I'm halfway through 100 already. So I could see myself doing 100 books this year. Not that you have to read 100 books in a year to be a reader, you guys. That's not necessary. You can read one book and be a reader. So, um, I just, with the pace that I'm reading books right now, I think I could hit 100 books. I don't always hit 100 books, though. Like, the probably most I've read in a year is 115 books. But the past couple of years, I was hitting in the 75 to 100 range. So that's why I started off at 75. But we're adding Wild Dark Shore, and I'll let you know when I have read this and what my thoughts are. Okay, so I have finished Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy, and I'll admit I did get into the hype a little bit and was more disappointed with this than expected. I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. Admittedly, a large part of that was hype. However, I don't think my expectations were as disappointed. I was as disappointed because I looked at the genre and I know that lit fic is not my normal genre. So, yeah, for me, I just think that I understand why this is hyped, and I think I give this 2.75, which is my lowest star rating so far of the year. um, but I think for me, like I understand why people like this. It just the pacing. This isn't my usual genre. The pacing didn't work for me, and some of the parts weren't super believable for me. And honestly, I think that this would have been a lot better if this was like a murder mystery of sorts, like a closed door murder mystery. Even though it's not like a room, you're on like isolated on an island, and there's only that set amount of people who could have done it. Like if people keep going to Shearwater and then not returning, like I feel like that would have been like a better premise. Um, so yeah, like not my thing. I'm probably gonna unhaul this, so I'm gonna set this in my unhaul pile, and then I have my book buying ban video where I'll go through my unhaul pile and see which ones I actually want to unhaul and don't want to unhaul. I'm just gonna stick this aside there because I probably will want to unhaul this. And even though I just got it, again, I do understand the hype. It's just for me, all the things together, the pacing, the characters, it didn't really work for me, which totally fine. I pushed through this just because I was really close to DNFing it. Excuse me. But I decided to push through it because I did kind of want to see how it ended. Um, and I'm not upset by this. I am a little bit disappointed, but I'm not really upset by this, if that makes sense. So, it is what it is. I read it. I don't feel like I wasted my time with it, which is good. It just wasn't good for me and did not work. So that's why it's at 2.75. So, yeah. Okay, so we're getting through this 4 more books to get through, and we're gonna roll the dice and see what we get. Okay, so I already have you zoomed out and angled so that hopefully 10 and 9, 19. Alrighty, okay, I'm gonna go count 19 out now. Okay, so I've got 19, and just for the sake, I think I know it. So I think I know which one it is, but again, for the sake of counting it out, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, so we got Kin by Tayari Jones. I think she has another book out. Yeah, An American Marriage. Which I'm not quite sure. I was looking at that one. I'm not quite sure if I would be interested in that one. But this one sounded really interesting. So, one moment. Okay. Venice and Annie, 2 motherless daughters raised in Honeysuckle, Louisiana, have been best friends and neighbors since earliest childhood, but are fated to live starkly different lives. Raised by a fierce aunt determined to give her a stable home in the wake of her mother's death, Venice leaves Honeysuckle for college in Atlanta, where she joins a sisterhood of powerfully connected Black women and discovers a world of affluence, manners, aspiration, and inequality. Annie, abandoned by her mother as a child and fixated on the idea of finding her, sets off on a journey that will take her into a world of peril and adversity, as well as love and adventure, culminating in a battle for her life. A novel about mothers and daughters, friendship and sisterhood, and the complexities of being a woman in the American South. Kin is an exuberant, emotionally rich, unforgettable work from one of the brightest and most irresistible voices in contemporary fiction. So, again, contemporary fiction isn't my usual. Okay, sorry about that. So, contemporary fiction is not my usual genre, but this one does sound really interesting, and it's kind of fitting because I'm starting this on Mother's Day. So, we'll see how this goes. I mean, I am trying to, one of my soft reading goals for this year was to try more books outside of my comfort range, outside of my comfort genres. I've done that with Charlotte McConaghy, so two for two with Tayari Jones. Kin. Hopefully, I do like Kin because this does sound really interesting, and I probably am more interested in this than I was in Wild Dark Shore. So, hopefully, I'm a little bit nervous because now I'm on a 1-for-1 for books I didn't enjoy that I'm trying outside of my usual genre. So we'll just see how everything goes with Kin. Okay, so I have put a pause on Malice. I will be updating my Storygraph because I update it weekly with how many pages I've read. I update Fridays and Saturdays with how many pages I've read. So I will update on Friday with how far I am into this. Wait, I've already paused it. When I unpause, I will update with where I'm at, even if it's like Sunday or Monday. But I put a pause on this because I need to get through Kin, and it's been a little bit. I have made some progress, like a little bit. I'm like five chapters in. But I have made progress. It's just I talk about this in another self-care plus getting stuff done with me video that I'm working on. At the time that I'm recording this video, I'm also recording that video, and at this point in time of this video, I don't know when that video will be up. But I mentioned in that video that like I've been kind of going through back and forths with crocheting and reading, so like I'm trying to keep it as easy as possible myself, but I do need to finish Kin. So again, I'm like 4 or 5 chapters in, but I also picked up some books from the library. I went to the West Valley. I put them on hold at the West Valley Regional Branch on Vanilla, and I think in Reseda. I think it's technically considered Reseda. So the two, I got 2 books. I had them on hold. I do have a 3rd book on hold at the library. It is Dungeon Crawler Carl, because I'm feeling a little bit of FOMO. I feel like this lighting is not the best. Maybe I need more over here, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Also, my eye was very swollen. This eye was very swollen this morning, and then this eye was swollen or puffy, not swollen, puffy, allergic reaction of some sort. So that's why I feel like I also don't look very great right now, but I'm not here to look pretty. If you want to look pretty on your YouTube, I fully support that. So anyway, back to the library books. So I do have Dungeon Crawler Carl on hold. I might switch over to the Encino library since that's a 15-minute walk for me, and God, I'm tired. It's Thursday, and I do have, okay, to finish that thought, complete thought, I do have Dungeon Crawler Carl on hold. I'm like in the 140s place, so I'm like 140 something, maybe 130 something in line. And the Encino library is currently closed, but for maintenance, but it's reopening in June, and it's like mid-May right now. So depending on how things go, I will probably switch that hold over to the Encino, switch the pickup location to the Encino library. Just so maybe like, just because like Encino library is like a 5-minute drive, and I can always go pick it up after work real quick. But anyway, after like 4 minutes, for the books that I got, Shake Out the Ghosts by Al Hess. I will link down below the video that I did where it was like a brief look at the West Valley Regional Branch. But Shake Out the Ghosts by Al Hess. So this one should be really interesting. I am 23 pages into it. I'm at chapter 3. So far it does seem pretty interesting. I think right now at least I'm sitting at like a 3 stars. So it's like, it is interesting me, but it's not like wowing me in any real capacity. It's not like, it's not making me like want to read it, but I'm not disliking it, I'm not hating it, I'm not wanting to put it down. So again, we're only like 20 odd pages, 23 pages in. God, I'm so yawny right now. Anyway, so that's what this one is. And then the next one I'll be reading is The Quarter Queen by Kayla Hardy. And this is like voodoo in Louisiana and New Orleans. So the voodoo queen Marie Laveau. So this one, I am a little bit more interested in this one. But the only reason why I started reading this one first is because it's shorter, and also just to build up anticipation for this one. And it's smaller too. Like, so shorter, smaller, so how long is this one? 276 pages. Maybe I shouldn't have read that, but it's a romance. I think it's like a paranormal adjacent romance. Interesting. I was just reading there's an about the type page for the Voodoo Queen. But the Voodoo Queen that's a historical note. Usually when I give page numbers, if there's like historical notes, author notes, stuff like that, I don't include that in the page count, just because for me it's like the page, it's like the story, it's like what exactly am I reading in the story. And I will skim through like the other stuff, but like for the actual story itself, that's what I say for the page count. And with this, it's 356. So it's about the same, like again, it's a little bit shorter, it's about the same page count, but I think if they were like the same height, this one would be a lot thinner. If they were like the same type of hardback, this size, this one would be thinner, or if this was this size, it'd be a bit thicker. So yeah, that's the update that I have for you. I felt bad because I haven't updated in a while, and that's why I wanted to update. So yeah, I am gonna try to binge through Kin, so hopefully I will have a better update for you soon. I am, for right now at least, it's sitting at like 3 stars. I would say the reason why I say 3 stars, that's kind of like tentative, because it's in like the 2.75 to 3.25 range right now at least. Just because it's like, part of the reason why I've been kind of slow with this, like I said, is partly because of like the crocheting and bouncing back and forth that I was trying to get through this past weeks of the temperature blanket. But also too, it's like I am interested in this, but at the same time, I think because I didn't have the best time with another lip fic, with Wild Dark Shore, it's like, that's kind of knocked me off my game a little bit. And it's totally fine to have negative reviews and lower star rating, that's totally fine. And we need more of those. But it's like, I think it kind of knocked me off my game a little bit with choosing another lip fic type book. So yeah, I'm gonna try to binge through this. This is, where's the freaking page numbers? Oh, they're 343, 344. Like, I think it's 346 pages. So I'm gonna try to binge through this a little bit and read some more. So that's Kin. But yeah, I'm also doing my book buying ban for May. Again, we're like mid-May, so I have another like week and a half to 2 weeks roughly, give or take. So yeah, we're making progress, and that's what's important. And I'm reading, and that's what's important. Like I've said in quite a few of my videos, as long as you're reading, you're a reader. So yeah, again, I put a pause on this. I was at, I think I mentioned this, I don't think I mentioned this, I'm at page 105, chapter 13 for this. So I'm what I've been doing to kind of shame myself is I'm keeping a lot of my books that I need to read over by my bed. So I do have a little like TBR stack. Well, it's not a TBR stack, sort of TBR stack. It's like a currently reading / reading TBR pile, I guess I'm calling it, where it's like reading TBR. Like, this one's like TBR, but I'm going to be reading it soon because it's a library book. Malice, I was reading, but it's on pause right now, so it's kind of middle ground shelf. So, yeah. Anyway, so I have these on my I have these on my little shelf by my bed here, so that they're easy to grab, because usually my instinct is just to do some reading before bed. So that's the update that I have for you. I will stop talking now and hopefully have another update for you in a moment. Okay, so I have decided to DNF Kin by Jaye, Tayari Jones. This is, I'm considering it's like a soft DNF right now because I only got like 25-30 pages in, roughly, give or take, and it seems like it should have been something that I was interested in maybe right book wrong time type of a deal, but I decided to stop DNF it, and then I'm gonna try it again at a later date. And I think I think I mentioned this earlier, but I think it was just coming off. This is technically considered historical, but I wasn't really feeling the historical aspect as much. And I know earlier when I did the description, I said Venice, and her name is actually Venice. Venice. So oopsie daisies. But I wasn't feeling like the historical aspect as much, and it's definitely more literary fiction with some touches of historical fiction. So I am gonna try it again, later date. See, right now it's a soft DNF. I may decide just to make it a hard DNF without giving it a second shot. I want to give it a second shot, so we'll see. I'm gonna keep it on my bookshelf right now, and we're gonna choose the next book that I'll read. So I have 4 more books to get through. I'm not showing where the library hides this one in this stack because I want to read the first one and then read the second one. So if I choose, kind of like what I was saying earlier, if I choose What the River Knows, then I'll read this, and then I'll read this. Kind of like it'll be a package deal since it's a duology. Also, my desk is kind of covered right now, so I'm going to do the roll of the dice on this shelf right here, this shelf, and I'll still show you just to prove no cuts and all that jazz, or no redos, and then I will do the counting this. Okay, so I'm gonna see how this will work. Again, it's probably not gonna be super great, but my desk is kind of covered right now. Woo! I want it to like fully land. Okay, so 20 and 1, which I think 3 goes into. So 21. Okay, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Good dirt. So that next book. And we can put these ones back on the shelf. Okay, I will give you all the description in one moment. I have to go over and check something. It'll be like literally a second for you. I have to go over and check something. Okay, so I went up to my neighbors because they were having the yard sale to do and they're moving. And they have cats, so I had to change because I'm allergic, sadly. But as we discussed, as you saw, which was good dirt. And maybe I need to read the description. Jeez. So this is by Charmaine Wilkerson. I really liked Black Cake by her. Oh yeah, I forgot that Black Cake became a Hulu series. I'm gonna try to watch that. If you've made it this far in the series, in the video, listeners, if you've made it this far in the video, comment down below asking me if I've watched Black Kick yet or if I've started it yet. So, sometimes the only way forward is to look back. When 10-year-old Abby Freeman heard the gunshot, time stopped. When she saw her brother Baz on the floor surrounded by shattered pieces of a treasured heirloom, her life felt shattered as well. The crime was never solved. Ever since, the Freemans, one of the only black families in well-to-do enclave in New England, have dreaded becoming the center of another media frenzy. But when now grown Abby's high-profile romance falls apart, that's exactly what happens. Abby flees to France only for her past to fall on. As she processes the shock, she begins to think about the other loss her family suffered that day. The stoneware jar that had been in the family for generations, brought north by an enslaved ancestor. Soon, Abby realizes that the handcrafted piece held more than just her family's history, and might also be the key to claiming a new future. So this seems right out of my alley. It is more lit fic, but it's a balance between lit fic, murder mystery, and then historical fiction, which is right up my alley. Like historical fiction, murder mystery stuff, and that's right up my alley. So hopefully it's balanced enough. Hopefully the lit fic is balanced enough for me that I can enjoy this. So we're doing another lit fic book. So yeah, we're doing Good Dirt. I'm gonna get the place for it. And on my bookshelf, that's where I'm gonna have the dash jackets. I'm gonna read the book. So yeah. Also, I wish more like covers, like outside of the romance genre, had like really colorful covers like this. Like yes, this is like knit and hardback, but I wish more covers had colorful. I wish more covers like I said, outside of the romance genre had colorful covers, because it's like it's all the same, you know. Like I kind of understand why publishing isn't doing that, because like the bright, colorful covers tend to be romance, and you want to separate it from romance. But there's a way to have colorful covers without making it seem romance. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. So I'll let you know how I will let you all know how it is. Okay, so I am back. It's been a hot minute since I updated you all, because I don't know if I've talked about it in this video or not, but I've been like hopping back and forth between my main hobbies, reading and crocheting, when I have to do my temperature blanket. So like when I need to do the previous week for my temperature blanket, that's like all I'm doing. And then reading kind of gets put to the side until I finish that previous week's colors for the temperature blanket. But we're back on track. I finally have an update for you all. I did finish Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson, and another hit out of the ballpark. Great book. I didn't put it in the microphone. Let me do that real quick. Okay, that's fun. I don't want to repeat anything so just give me 1 minute. Okay, that's on. I'm gonna pop this in. There's like an audio difference, but I just let it do. I don't want to repeat anything. So anyway, another hit out of the ballpark for Charmaine Wilkerson. I absolutely love this book. Heart-wrenching, emotional, just like the works of emotions. So I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, because like I think overall the pacing was pretty consistent, but there were parts that felt a little bit slower, parts that felt a little bit faster. Overall, it was about medium paced for me at least, but like there were parts that felt a little bit faster and then parts that felt a little bit slower, which took me out of the story a little bit. But I had a really good time with this, and honestly, another highly recommended book from me for Charmaine Wilkerson. So yeah, I'm gonna put this back on my shelf for a moment. Okay, so we are back, and I have 2 more books to choose from, even though, like I've mentioned earlier in this video, if I choose What the River Knows by Isabel Ibañez, like I have 3 books to read. So it's Lady Tremaine by Rachel Hochhauser, What the River Knows by Isabel Ibañez, and then Where the Library Hides by Isabel Ibañez, which is the second book. So I'm just choosing between these two because, like I've mentioned earlier in this video, if I choose this one, just to change it up a little bit, just because it's one of those things, since it was only two, it was one of those things where it's like, if I landed on an odd, it would have obviously been this one, and then if I landed on the even, it would have been this one, so I'm going to throw in all three. If I land on either of these by Isabel Ibañez, then I will read What the River Knows and then Where the Library Hides, and then move on to this one. If I land on this one, I read this one and not this one. So that's that. But I am going to wrap up this video here, just because like we're at a point where this video is getting a little bit long, which is not a bad thing, and I have been testing out some more longer form videos that are like closer to an hour and then over an hour. But just with where we're at, and so I don't need to keep holding on to, because like the clips themselves take up space on my phone. So just for the effort of not having to have as many clips on my phone, I am going to, like I said, end this video here. I'm going to choose the book and then end the video, and then I'm going to do like a wrap up, Roll of the Dice Reading Vlog wrap up, where I give you my thoughts on the last 30 books for what I need to read for this. And then by that point, most of the books on my bookshelf will be read, which feels really great. No, that's most of them. So, oh damn it, I didn't do an intake of because I just finished up my book buying ban video, and I realized I forgot to do the intake. So you know what? In that video, in my wrap up where I talked about these three books, I will do like the intake of books I have on my bookshelf, what's read, what's unread. So because I realized I forgot to do that, because I was looking down at my bottom shelf, which is where I have the most unread books, and I was like, what is it unread? Because I was thinking, oh, most if not all of my books are read, and I was like, wait a second, I have some unread books on that shelf. So anyway, like I said, I'm gonna choose the book and then do the dice count, and then just read. And plus, too, like I mentioned, part of it is so I don't have to keep as many clips on my phone, but also part of it is just so like there isn't as much of a time crunch, because I didn't give myself like a time limit for this or a time frame to have this done by. But at the same time, like, you know, when you're making a video, making content surrounding reading books, especially doing like a reading vlog, it turns into a situation where even if you don't have like a set deadline or set amount of time for when to do it, it's like there's still kind of like that set deadline. I don't have a specific date, but there's still that fact that like, oh, I have to have this done, you know, I have to have this vlog done. So it's like, to finish these three books, I'm going to just let myself read them, let myself finish them, and then in that like final update video, I'll call it like the final update. But in that final update is when I'll talk about these three and how successful I feel that this reading vlog was. So, or this like, because this was like another experiment. So like I'll update you guys all with that in that final update video. So with all that said, let's go roll the dice. And I again realized that I have stuff on my desk right now. I don't know if you can, I don't think you can see it, but like I have a lot of stuff on my desk right now. And my computer's been acting weird, so I haven't really been using the desk as much. But we're gonna do one last roll and then see if I land on a 3 or a multiple of 3, then I'll kind of know where to land based on that. But yeah, we'll see. But at least having all 3 books in the stack, it makes it easier than just like, oh, odds in this one and then even this one. Okay. So 12 and 5, 17. I think I know what that is. So one moment while I go count it up, or I'll turn the camera around. Like, this is the thing. This is, like, my main thing, which I'll talk about in, like, the final update video. But, like, this is, like, the main thing where it's, like, if you have, like, a specific number of books, you have, like, two, evens versus odds. If you have three, it's, like, a multiples of three type deal. If you have four, multiples of four, and so on. You kind of know where to land, like, in this case, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So that's why I'm pretty sure, even though I'll count it out, that's why I'm like 99% sure which one it is. But like that's the only like caveat where it's like, even if you're using like two dice to get a larger number, it's like, even if I were to use like 3 plus dice and then add all those numbers, it's like you still kind of like have like the multiples in the back of your head because it's still pounding it into your brain. Especially when it's like a lower number. So using 2 dice, it kind of gets like to a point where it's like, okay, I know what this is going to be. Larger numbers, it can get a little bit fuzzier, but like, it's like you kind of know. So I landed on 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, I'm going to put her back real quick. So, like I said, I knew it was going to be this one because between. So it's like it went down to 15, and then 16 through 18, so 17. So, anyway. So, the book I chose was What the River Knows by Isabel Ibañez. And I'll give you the description and then end the video. Boy. So, I have read this before. Bolivian Argentinian Inez Olivera belongs to the glittering upper society of 19th century Buenos Aires, and like the rest of the world, the town is steeped in old world magic that has largely been left behind or forgotten. Inez has everything a girl might want, except for the one thing she yearns for the most: her globe-trotting parents, who frequently leave her behind. When she receives word of their tragic deaths, Inez inherits their massive fortune in a mysterious garden, and a mysterious guardian, an archaeologist in partnership with his Egyptian brother-in-law. Yearning for answers, Inez sails to Cairo, bringing her sketch pads and a golden ring her father sent to her for safekeeping before he died. But upon her arrival, the old world magic tethered to the ring pulls her down a path where she discovers there's more to her parents' disappearance than what her guardian led her to believe. With her guardians, I keep wanting to say guardian. It's been a really long day. With her guardian's infuriatingly handsome assistants thwarting her at every turn, Inez must rely on ancient magic to uncover the truth about her parents' disappearance, or risk becoming a pawn in a larger game that will kill her. So this one is like The Mummy meets Death on the Nile, in this lush, immersive historical fantasy filled with adventure, a rivals to lovers romance, and shocking twists and turns. So I'm keeping the dust jacket off because like I mentioned earlier, I think I hate reading with the dust jackets on, which is why I like Under the Oak Tree, because I can still enjoy the gorgeous cover without having to worry about a dust jacket. So with all of that said, like I mentioned, wrapping this up here, I had a really good time with this vlog and this experiment overall, so I might do this again when I have more unread books on my shelf. Now, I just did a quick count, and I do have about 10 unread books on my shelves, but either it would be a situation where I focus on those 10 books, or like I do this kind of like in a themed way, like I did this one where it's like book of the month. We'll see if I do this again. I don't know, like, while I had fun with this, I don't know if I would want to do it again, but if this is something you want to do, or if you're going to do or have done, let me know down below in the comments, because it's like, this was definitely like a really interesting way to go about the reading vlog. Well, I did mention in one of the other roll of the dice reading vlogs where I've let the dice choose the shelf and then the book number on that shelf, but that now that's not necessarily something that works out as well for me because this shelf is all read. This shelf is all read except for one book that, at least while I'm recording this, I'm waiting on, but volume 3. But I'm hoping to get to that this year since I've already read these two again this year. But yeah, so this one is all read, and the third shelf, all read. The fourth shelf, which is the book of the month shelf, is getting finished up with a reading, and then the fifth shelf is where the unread books are. And I try to only do that when I have like quite a few unread books on my shelves, on my main shelf, like in dispersed throughout my shelves. So yeah, that's why I'm not doing that as much anymore. And why I decided to do this way, because I could condense all the books that I had unread and then let the dice choose from that condensed stack. So, with all that said, like I mentioned, I'm wrapping this up here. If you made it this far in the video, let me know if you've read any of these books or have them on your TBR pile. And with all of that said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.